Hey everyone, and welcome to this $1,400 stimulus check update, third stimulus package update, and it looks like we have some big news coming through the Senate in terms of the stimulus plan finally getting most of the stuff that was up in the air, that was being battled mostly between Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema and the rest of the Senate. Looks like they've finally been resolved. So we're going to talk about what that is, what that means for a time frame in terms of when they're going to actually get this stimulus package through, and a couple of things that they're going to be voting on, as well as a couple more things that could now be put into this stimulus package that previously wasn't really mentioned. And not only that, in a couple of days, we're going to be going over some of the details about what amendments were passed and what were not passed, because right now, in the next day or two, they're going to be doing their vote-a-rama. That is, the Senate's going to be voting on a ton of amendments that were added over the course of the last week or two to put into the final bill, probably get this vote done by Monday. Hey everyone, my name is Randy and welcome back to the Late Night Grind. This is a YouTube channel that right now I'm covering the state of these stimulus checks, the state of this stimulus package. And I gotta tell you, from when we started this until now, it's kind of been a really crazy ride. Started covering the previous stimulus package and now covering this number 3 stimulus package, and just seeing the story kind of from one end to the other, and not only top of it, a transition from one presidential administration to another has been really, really crazy to see, and I've learned a ton. And so if you're one of my subscribers and been watching my videos for a couple of months now, I hope you guys have learned a lot too, kind of how Congress works and how all this stuff works, and even what the future could look like in terms of future stimulus and just economics from Washington's standpoint as well. So in any case, if you are new to the channel, please click that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. We've really been growing a lot lately, and my current subscribers have been doing an amazing job of hitting that like button, hitting that thumbs up button. That really helps out. So if you do want to help out the channel, it's the best thing you can do is hit that like button. All right, guys, well, let's get into it. So as I put out in my previous video, it looks like the final pieces of arguments have been settled. Agreements have been reached. Joe Manchin, who is the Democrat that was kind of threatening to hold up the stimulus bill for a long time now, basically he went in and spoke with Joe Biden. Him and some of the other Democratic senators went in, talked about some of the things that they wanted to do to target, make this a more targeted bill, and both sides kind of compromised and came up with concessions on it. So as we know, a couple of days ago, the Biden administration actually agreed with Joe Manchin and lowered the income limits in terms of who would qualify for the $1,400 stimulus checks and who wouldn't. So as of right now, it looks like $80,000 and above will be cut off for singles, and $160,000 and above will be cut off for couples. But one of the other sticking points, at least with Joe Manchin, was the item of the unemployment insurance boost. Currently, what they're paying out now is $300 per week in unemployment boost or unemployment insurance. It was supposed to go to $400 per week. The House of Representatives, when they wrote up their bill and they passed their bill, it was $400 per week until the end of August. They passed that. Well, Joe Manchin thought that was a little too much. Basically, he said we should just continue what we're doing, which is the $300 that was passed with the last stimulus package. And so it looks like Joe Biden and his administration actually agreed with him. And so right now it is being cut back to $300 for this third stimulus package. But the one concession that was made on Joe Manchin's side was that rather than being cut off at the end of August, it is extended another month to the end of September. And not only that, it looks like there will be some tax breaks for those on unemployment. This is something I mentioned, I remember a couple of days ago, I mentioned in one of my videos that this could be something that they would be talking about and voting on. Well, it looks like this is probably something that's going to be included in this bill now. If you make less than $150,000 and you became unemployed, the first $10,200 of your unemployment will now be tax-free. Now, depending on what the rest of your tax return looks like, that will probably amount to about another $2,000 to $2,400, essentially in extra money that you would have normally not seen because it would have been taxed. So it looks like that will now be included in this third stimulus bill. Of course, it all has to be voted on and finalized, but as of right now, it looks like it'll be included. And as we expected, the $15 an hour minimum wage hike will not be included. The Senate had a vote on it earlier, actually yesterday, and it really didn't even come close. Bernie Sanders led the charge to try and have it included in this third stimulus package. The Senate voted, which no Republicans voted for it. Obviously, they've been against it for some time now. And there were actually even 7 Democratic senators that also voted against it. Now, from what I was reading, most of their reasoning was revolved around that it's just not the right time. Not that they're against a minimum wage hike, but that during a pandemic and in a pandemic relief bill, it's not something that's needed right now, where more costs and more expenses should be added to small businesses. So that will not be included in the bill. That was another thing that Joe Manchin was against. Don't really have to worry about that with him anymore. It looks like he has all of the stuff that he was fighting against kind of out of the way or settled. So at this point, it's just a matter of finalizing all those other amendments that are going to be included in the bill or not, writing up the bill, signing it, and handing it back to the House of Representatives. It's expected that Monday we could see a vote from the Senate. This will then make it official. They'll send it back to the House. Nancy Pelosi said they will basically sign whatever the Senate signs. So it should not take more than a day or two for the House to kind of get their act together, sign the same thing, and get it over to Joe Biden's desk. Now, they're going to have to continue to work quickly because March 14th, one of the deadlines that they were trying to avoid, is coming up. So as long as they have this plan in place, it looks like it should reach Joe Biden's desk several days ahead of that deadline, just in time for the new unemployment issues that are written in the bill to actually take place. And while Republicans overall are not happy with the size of this spending plan, of this spending bill, this $1.9 trillion, because they actually feel like it could have been cut in half, still spent tons of money on direct checks to people, done unemployment insurance, gotten tons of money out there for vaccines, testing, reopening schools and all that stuff, but for about half the cost. So that's one thing to take into consideration when we start talking about this fourth stimulus check package. Now, I talked about this in my last couple of videos because it's been starting to already gain traction. There's a couple senators that are like, all right, well, it looks like this one's finalized. Let's start working on the next one. And already they're drafting letters, sending it to Joe Biden, and already it looks like it's going to be centered around a couple of things. Ongoing infrastructure. Not just physical infrastructure, but financial infrastructure. So it's a lot more to do with unemployment extensions. It's a lot more to do with automatic stabilizer checks when the economy does or doesn't hit certain markers. Automatic stabilizers has been something that especially progressives have been looking at for years now. But they figure now's the best time to actually look into this. And while Republicans continue to call this a liberal wish list that's in this spending bill, they're going to have to use their time wisely when talking about the fourth stimulus package, because more than likely there's going to be some items in there that they are against as well. So if Republicans are smart, they'll actually start putting out their own ideas and their own wish lists for things that can be included, especially if you look at Republican Peter Major just put out his proposal for a stimulus plan, which would have done the same thing as what the Democrats did, but for half the price. So they're going to have to learn something. And Joe Biden, for having said he wants this to be a bipartisan process, it really hasn't been much at all. So over the next couple of days, we're going to see just a ton of information coming out, especially about the amendments, what was included, what was not included as they go through their votorama. Maybe they'll be up all night like the House was the other week. We shall see. In any case, if you are looking at trying to figure out how much money you will be getting in your stimulus check, we'll definitely be covering that in a little more detail. But whatever that amount is, if you are interested in essentially expanding that amount and turning that stimulus money into really a lot more money than what the government could actually give you, I want you to watch this video over here. Just go ahead, click on it, and let it play. Let me know your thoughts on that. Kind of has to do with how you're going to use that stimulus check. So go ahead and check that out. In the meantime, appreciate you giving this video a big thumbs up. It really helps out with that YouTube algorithm. And as always, I'll see you guys on the next video.